The Sovereign Steward, Repair, Resistance, and the Right to Own What You Own. Welcome to Voice of Sovereignty. Today we're talking about repair, not as a hobby, not as a skill set for handy people, as a sovereignty issue, as a declaration of independence from a system that has spent 50 years engineering your dependence on it. Stay with me, because this goes deeper than you think. The Quiet Agreement. Somewhere in the last half century, a quiet agreement was reached about who owns the inside of things. Not in a boardroom, not in a ballot, not in any document you ever signed. It was implemented through engineering, through proprietary screws, glued casings, sealed components, software locks, and warranties that void the moment you open the device you paid for. The message embedded in that engineering is this: the inside of this object is not for you. The inside belongs to the manufacturer, the service center, and the authorized technician. You, the person who paid for it, who depends on it, whose morning stops when it fails, you stay outside. You wait. You pay. You replace. I want to be clear about what that agreement actually is. It is not a safety protocol. It is not consumer protection. It is a business model. And you have been paying for it every time your appliance fails at year 3. Every time the repair quote exceeds the cost of a new unit, and every time you discover the part you need costs $11 but is only available from an authorized dealer at $250. Foundations of Repair exists to name that agreement and refuse it. The Steward versus the Consumer. The book opens with a distinction that sounds simple but changes everything. The difference between a consumer and a steward. A consumer believes ownership is a receipt. You pay, you carry the object home, and the story ends there. When it fails, the consumer has one response: replace, repair at someone else's hands, or endure. The consumer is trained to be careful, not open it, not touch the wrong part, and keep it pristine until it fails. And when it fails, move it along the conveyor belt: complaint, warranty claim, replacement purchase. A steward is careful in a different way. Careful means attentive. A steward notices the early symptoms: the odd sound, the stiffness, the wobble, the heat where there used to be none, and the charging cable that must be held at a certain angle. A steward knows that failure is gradual, that things drift before they collapse, and that most drift can be interrupted with a tightening, a cleaning, a $5 part, or a 10-minute inspection. The consumer mindset treats failure as a cliff. One day it works, the next day it doesn't. The only action available is replacement. The steward mindset treats failure as a process. And because failure is a process, stewardship can intervene at any point in that process. The 3 questions. The most powerful tool in Foundations of Repair is not a wrench. It is a framework. 3 questions that form the foundation of every diagnostic process in the book. What is it supposed to do? What is it doing instead? What changed recently? These questions move you from emotion to evidence. They transform "it's broken" into "it is failing in this specific way." And specificity is the difference between a hostage and a negotiator. A hostage says, "I don't know what's wrong. I need help. I'll pay whatever it costs." A negotiator says, "I know the symptom, I have a theory about the cause, and I have options." Those 3 questions generate the theory. Every chapter of the book shows you how to move from theory to options to action. Whether the subject is a running toilet, a circuit that stopped working, a small engine that won't start, or a charging cable that's failing at the connector, the framework is the same. The vocabulary changes. The logic is identical. The economics of repair. Let me give you a number. The average American household spends between 1% and 3% of their home's value annually on maintenance and repairs. For a $300,000 home, that is $3,000 to $9,000 a year. The book calls repair tax-free wealth, and it means it literally. Money spent on repair is after-tax money, preventing after-tax spending. When you replace a faucet cartridge yourself, a 30-minute job, a $40 part, you avoid the $400 plumber's visit. That $360 was earned after tax. It is kept after tax. It is yours. Scale that across the full year's failure events in a household: the running toilet, the outlet that stops working, the chair that wobbles, the dryer that loses heat, and the economics of stewardship versus dependency represent thousands of dollars. The throwaway culture wants those thousands. Tool literacy keeps them. The Trivium of Repair Foundations of Repair applies the classical trivium to the physical world. Grammar is naming, learning what parts are called because you cannot repair what you cannot name. Logic is diagnosing, reasoning from symptom to cause using the three questions. Rhetoric is executing, performing the repair with precision, documenting it in the maintenance log, and teaching it to someone else. That last step, teaching, is chapter 19 of the book, passing repair skills to the next generation. And it is one of the most important chapters, right? Because the breakdown of repair literacy across generations is one of the primary mechanisms through which dependency is manufactured and maintained. When your children watch you call a repairman for every failure, they learn that the inside of things is not for them. When they watch you diagnose, they learn that systems obey rules and capable people learn them. The right to repair. Right to repair legislation is now active in more than 30 states. Manufacturers have fought it everywhere. The debate is framed as intellectual property versus consumer rights. But the deeper issue is what all the dependency issues we discuss on this podcast come down to. It is about who is allowed to command what they own. The same logic that keeps reading instruction away from adults who need it, the same logic that keeps financial literacy out of schools, the same logic that keeps communities dependent on systems that do not serve them. That logic is written to the screws of your appliances. The same fear of an empowered, self-sufficient, capable citizen drives every engineered barrier to owner repair. Foundations of Repair does not wait for the legislation. It delivers what no law can grant: the vocabulary, the permission, and the method. You do not need a regulation to clean your charging port. You need to know its lint, that a toothpick works, and that you're allowed. The Master's Inspection. The book closes with Chapter 20, The Master's Inspection, a seasonal maintenance ritual, not a metaphor, but a literal scheduled procedure that prevents most household failures before they begin. The inspection has a route, a timer, a logbook, and stopping rules. It is not a ceremony for experts. It is a decision to meet your world with light before it demands your attention in the dark. The household with a maintenance log stops being surprised. The household without one is perpetually reactive, perpetually expensive, and perpetually dependent. The Master's Inspection is the final gift of stewardship, the transformation of ownership from a passive receipt into an active practice. You become the person who knows how their systems behave, what their normal looks like, and what early drift sounds like before it becomes failure. Foundations of Repair is available on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. The book is 20 chapters. It takes on everything from basic electrical to small engines to precision measurement to the philosophy of what it means to own something in a world designed to keep you dependent. The companion book game is free at globalsovereignuniversity.org. No login, no tuition. I'll close with the line the book is built on. The sovereign hand is not defined by strength. It is defined by willingness. Willingness to look closely. Willingness to learn the names of things. Willingness to take responsibility for what you already paid for. The moment you do, ownership stops being a transaction and becomes a practice. This is Voice of Sovereignty. Keep building.